chat all the way from sunny Australia is Bishop Richard Umbers. He is the auxiliary bishop in Sydney. And from what I understand, the youngest Catholic bishop in Australia and the first priest of Opus Dei to be appointed a bishop in Australia. Good morning to you, Your Excellency.
Good morning.
Now, what time is it there right now?
It's actually 9:30 o'clock at night, 9:30 p.m.
So good morning to you. Yeah, praise be.
Yeah, well, good morning. Yes, but the thing is, I remember once I flew to LA and we left Sydney at 10 a.m. and I arrived in LA at 6 a.m. the same day.
Yeah, it's very weird. I flew to Guam a few years back to give a talk at a Catholic conference down there. And I lost like a whole day, and my kids just couldn't wrap their mind around how dad.
Well, the big issue is what do you do about the liturgy of the hours? That this is the
yeah.
thing, when you actually miss a day. But anyway, that's
well, you just pray both, right? You just pray both days all the same time, and then you make up for whatever you lack. But
well, you got time. You got time to do everything, so that's fine. Yeah, can you understand my accent? I mean, that's one of the things. Do you understand this kind of English? Or?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's no problem. I have an interpreter over here that tells me everything you say, so he just. But
we're raised in a diet of American TV, so we've been well and truly ideologically colonized by the United States of America. Beginning with Sesame Street, onto the Muppets, and it goes from there. That's the gateway.
What kind of culture?
But I don't know how many Aussie programs you actually get in the USA. So if you watch Neighbours or anything like that, I don't know.
It is kind of interesting you point that out, because I as someone who has to follow the news all the time, one of my sources is Sky News Australia, and
yes,
and I'm always watching the conversations going on, especially as it relates to China. Very concerned with China these days, and I'm always surprised about how American focused the commentary is down there. I'm like, oh wow, you guys really are paying attention.
Well, everywhere. I've traveled a lot, and the newspaper normally, wherever any country you're in, there's something about the local news, and then there's what's happening in the States.
Yeah, and then there's what's happening in the States. Well, I shudder to think about what is communicated.
And the internet has made it worse, because so Australia is from an English background, and we had things like Guy Fawkes. Do you know what Guy Fawkes is?
Of course, yes.
Okay, so great. Well, that sort of stuff. But now I see everyone going out trick and treating for Halloween. And what has that got to do with even now, even Thanksgiving, people are celebrating.
Amen.
Fathers.
I am pro Thanksgiving.
Australia.
I am pro Thanksgiving. If you can't tell, Bishop.
Yes.
Now trick or treating. That's a third rail here. A lot of people are very sensitive about criticizing trick or treating, but I think we definitely don't go trick-or-treating at my house anyway. But one of the reasons why we invited you on was because you are affectionately known as the Bishop of Memes. And, I was commenting at the beginning of the hour how the first time I heard someone use the word meme, I didn't even know what it meant, and I had to go look it up. And that was the first time in my life I felt old, because the kids were using terms I did not know. I
felt old yesterday, because I was driving with Ben Connolly, who helps me with social media, and we've been interviewing Bishop Columba, who is the closest thing you'll get to Texan in Australia, and we stopped because Ben, being a younger fellow, had to stop at McDonald's. And we went to the Lithgow McDonald's both ways. It's sort of like halfway, and honestly, I couldn't taste the food. And it wasn't COVID related. I think it was just age. Like, I thought, this is cardboard.
Yeah,
he enjoyed it anyway.
It's not. It doesn't have a good reputation for good food, for sure. But it's interesting, because we live in a sort of a weird world anymore, and communications in particular, especially those online, are sort of short, sweet, to the point, oftentimes curt and sarcastic and cutting. And it's interesting to see how you are trying to leverage within this sort of atmosphere, this technology, this communication means, in order to cut through it all. And I just pulled up one of your memes on your Twitter handle, @BishopUmbers. And it's funny because my family and I go to the TLM. We go to the Latin Mass,
yes.
And so we are used to seeing this. And I wonder how many people who don't go to a Novus Ordo, the ordinary form of the Mass, might not understand this. But the meme says, no matter the roof, Domine non sum dignus, and then there's two pictures. One's of like a nice house, and the other, like one is where like Adrian, my producer, would live, and the other one's where like I live in the shack, and it's fascinating. It's like what is the theology of your memes, Bishop? What do you hope to accomplish through all of this?
Well, in the first place, I have to say it's probably just me working out my frustrations with so much bureaucracy. So the more memes, it means the worse the meetings were that day.
Some people just binge eat, and drink a lot of coffee, but you do memes. I got it.
It's therapy for myself, I think, because it's the modern life. Honestly, the technology has just made more meetings possible. So you don't only have meetings at work physically, but then on your phone through it's just crazy.
Meetings about meetings, yeah.
Yeah, well, no, you have meetings prior to the meeting, so that, preparing for the meeting, and then you have the debrief from the meeting, and then there's the working party. And in the end, it's just the whole aim. The aim is to get your 200-page report, yes, which you then give to the bishops all at once about a day before they meet.
Yes.
And then they've got to talk, set around, nod their heads very seriously. Page 84, I think, that
yes.
Article 3.5. Now, is it true the 1986 conference, when we had that charter, now I think that would be better placed in page 45. If you see under
yes.
Article, that's about it, really. That's life. So it's in that context that you get a few memes.
Yeah, I just was thinking about Bishop Athanasius in Alexandria fighting the Arians. I wonder how many meetings he had every day. Probably not as many as you do.
I actually like to push for an indulgence for attendance at a meeting.
Yeah, that'd be a good call.
Sanctification.
So in your meme creation, let's go back to the theology of memes here.
Yes.
So
yes.
What do you hope to accomplish when you put these memes? I know it's sort of stress reliever, but like it's a
little bit esoteric.
You have intention in this. It's not just random.
No. Look, what I'm trying to pique curiosity. So it has to be recognizable enough that you say, yeah, okay, I can sort of see there's something going on here. Especially if other people are kind of getting it, because then that really piques people's curiosity and say, well, hang on, why do they get it and I don't quite understand what? So the hope is that you'll go and Google, what is, you Google and Domine non sum dignus, what is this? And they go, oh, I see, and you start reading about it, and you actually end up forming yourself. I can just tell you straight up, but there's nothing like sort of asking a couple of questions or putting a few poses and sort of, I guess I'm working off people's curiosity.
Have you seen a response in that regard? Have you seen people actually respond back to you and sort of figured this out? They've unlocked the clues and got to the result that you intended?
Occasionally, yes.
Occasionally.
I think most times people are sort of waiting for the next one that they like a common reaction would say, look, I enjoy it. I have no idea what this is, but I enjoy it. So just keep watching.
You are putting out memes to just make us feel, dull and dim-witted, because I had to, I don't even know what Ratramnus is, and I had to Google it. I'm like, oh, that's like somebody who's an abbot or something. I don't even know. I have to still look at it. But so we're talking about your memes and your use of memes prior to the break, and I'm fascinated by it because, again, so much of what happens on the internet, even if it's for like a good reason, even if it's to call out an error must be called out, but it seems to be backbiting or it has a certain edge to it, sort of a meanness, and your memes are they're almost like puzzles that have to be unlocked, right? Wouldn't you say?
Well, more or less. So Ben Connolly, for instance, who started work at the Archdiocese 2 years ago for the Catholic Weekly. Now, he had been, in his own words, had been sort of taking a bit of a break, but came back to the faith. And his first conversation with me, they were all, the various journalists and people from the department. We're sitting down at the cafe. We'd done some interview in a local parish. And the conversation got to memes. How's that? And he was fascinated. They'd never met a bishop before, I think. And his first conversation was about memes. So he actually started learning more and more about his faith and about the catechism through those memes, trying to figure out who's this guy that I work for. And from that, he's now started to really come along, and he's bringing a lot of young professionals to talks in the city next to the cathedral. They call it City Compass. That's been very successful for them. And now he's also helping me. He writes the scripts for The Truth in a Minute, which I don't know if you've seen any of those.
Oh, yes. Your Excellency. When I first heard about you, I didn't know you were a real bishop. I thought it was a meme account that was just posting it just as a meme. And me and my friends, I'm 23 and I was at the university, just graduated from the University of St. Thomas in Houston. And we would talk about your memes and discuss your memes just all the time. And a friend of mine went to some conference and came back and goes, guess what? I took a picture with Bishop Umbers. And I was like, he's a real bishop?
When I first started with these memes, it was all with because I found the whole thing of I can't even pronounce the monkey's name properly, Harambe or whatever. It was so absurd, but there was kind of something in that. There was here come that boy with a little frog on a unicycle. And you go like, what is this? And I kind of got into it. But people were sending me messages saying, I want you to hold up today's newspaper. Like you're not real. So I guess what was something quite crazy now has kind of become, he does memes and okay, whatever.
And that's the thing that
it's normalized.
It's quite a great tool of evangelization. We are sitting around talking about memes, and we're going to be doing that anyways as young people. We're going to be sitting around talking about memes and showing each other memes, but it's so much greater whenever they're these surprisingly in-depth memes with a lot of theological and philosophical meat on them. How can we start using the culture more? I was looking at your podcast, and you just did one recently on humor. How can we use the culture to bring forth truth to people and to get young people to start talking about things that are true, good, and beautiful?
Look, it is difficult, and I know that the medium is many times the message, and as you've been saying, there is a lot of meanness at times online. There is a tendency to tribalism, and that can lead to a lack of even philosophical charity, where you try to give the best possible explanation, such that you are not just you're not straw manning, you're still proofing the sort of the opposition, and so that you can give the best argument, which is often a lot more convincing. But I think it's about a range of things, so that you've got to get people's attention first. Once you have their attention, once they get to come and know who you are, they may be interested in learning more. And that's where I guess when I put out a podcast that is actually fairly highbrow with various people, I have to admit. But hey, people like Jordan Peterson have huge following, and they talk for ages. So it's not necessarily the case that you have to put everything in 30 seconds. But to begin with, I think you've got to get people to catch their eye.
Is there any subject that you avoid? What's the third rail for you, Bishop?
What do I avoid? I avoid getting into partisan politics, because as a cleric, that's not my place. Certainly, I will talk about human rights. I will talk about anything that comes from the catechism. But I have to be very careful, one, to respect people's freedom in matters theological, and above all in areas of politics where well-meaning and well-formed Catholics can honestly disagree with each other. And I think as someone who comes from the other side of the world, it's reasonably easy for me to avoid dipping into the American scene as regards politics, because one, even though we follow from a distance, it is from a distance. I will speak in general principles, but what do I know about this politician or this other politician? I'm much more informed when it comes to the Australian side of things. So that I avoid. Other things, I think it depends a little bit. I would tend to focus more, if you will, on the dogmatic side. I think it's worth always looking at the big picture about, like God. That's amazing, just to talk about that God exists. Like, wow. The wonder that comes from the fact that we're here. And then all the metaphysical aspects that we hold dear and need repeating. Now, down the track, you can talk about morals and spirituality and these other things, which come from that initial encounter of wonder with God.
what I really realized is that whenever you know something, and I believe G.K. Chesterton has a quote, something along these lines, where it's, if you don't know a topic, you can't say it succinctly. You must know a topic in depth in order to get across your point in a very clear and succinct way. And what memes do, and what I know a lot of young people do, is we're able to take these arguments and we're able to succinctly see them laid out in meme format, and it's actually getting across a very deep point. So how do you come up with some of these ideas? Is it just like you're just grabbing the meme templates and then trying to fill in the gaps, or what? How do you do these?
So in the first place, I've after trial and error, I've come across some Reddit meme sites, which is sounds awful, but I'll keep an eye on those to see what's trending. And then if I see something, I think, oh, okay, I can see this is starting to take off. I'll download it, and then I'll get to work. Something will occur to me from my own knowledge of theology, or at times I will persecute the poor priest who lives with me. Because it'll be about, sort of 10 o'clock at night, and he's trying to just unwind and talk about the day, and I'll go, stop. Here's the following picture. Now, what's a meme that I can put to this? And we had a seminarian on placement with us, and the poor guy, he'd have to suffer this every night at the same time. And he said, now I know, because he's studying in Rome. And he goes, this is why those memes come out at that time. now I know the process behind all this.
That's hilarious.
Bishop Richard Umbers is our guest. He is the auxiliary bishop in Sydney, Australia. We'll have a few minutes left with you, Bishop, and we're very, again, grateful for your time today. I wanted to ask you about the state of the church in Australia, the state of the faithful in Australia and New Zealand. How is life down there for Catholics?
Look, it's the same in the West all over. And the internet has played and continues to play an incredibly important role, and it's one in which I don't think in general that we have adjusted to that. The bishops are sick of hearing from me about the internet. I actually have to come up with something else to say, because I had one of them say to me recently, he said, like, you sandwich everything with, it's a bit like, Carthago delenda est, get with it with the internet, Anyway, but I have to really have to talk about some of the topics. But that we really haven't adjusted to the massive, massive impact that it's having, as the printing press did at its time. And so I think one of the big ones is faith and science, to the compatibility of the faith with everything else that people are learning. Now, unfortunately, as much as we have all the tools necessary to us, we have some great Catholic universities, we have wonderful lecturers, they do very engaging workshops. They answer questions that kids in grade 11 or grade 12 will have, and they do ask deeper questions about Nietzsche or Dostoevsky or whatever. I mean, I see that at youth conferences. As much as I try to have actual workshops set up, I just get blocked out. Like, no one wants it. They just want guitars and T-shirts that say Jesus loves you, which is fine. Jesus loves it. We need to hear that all the time. But there's a little bit more going on here. I've been with primary school kids. They bring me in to grade 6. And the little kids go, any questions for Bishop? And one of the kids might ask, a few basic questions, but I tend to actually go into the weeds, and I make distinctions between things. And then the kids really sit up and take notice. And they start asking deep questions about, what's the difference between, what's Henry VIII and the Anglicans and the Catholic Church? What happened there? How come, you can have an annulment? They've got these deeper questions. And the teachers try to intervene and say, it's love. It's all love. And I'm saying, yes, but, and then I start again with more distinctions, and the kids take notice. So it's a question many times of offering up to them. I mean, there's a range of things, but we have to take the intellect seriously, because the kids are smart.
Yeah.
And if you give it to them, they'll absorb it.
Well, we are out of time. Bishop Richard Umbers has been our guest, the Bishop of Memes, and we're very grateful for your time being on with us all the way from Australia in your evening time. Bishop, can you give us your blessing?
Absolutely. God bless you. Benedictio Dei omnipotentis, Patris, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti, descendat super vos, et mani et semper. Amen.
Amen. Praise be to God. God bless you, and God love you, Bishop. Have a great day.
All the best.
And that is going to do it for the first hour of Catholic Drive Time today. If you can join us in our next hour, well, the Share-a-thon is happening across the Guadalupe Radio Network, so please tune in. That'd be amazing. But the Catholic Drive Time team will be back on the air at 9 a.m. Central, 10 Eastern, across the GRN and streaming live on our social platforms. You can find them all linked up at grnonline.com/CDT. grnonline.com/CDT. God love you.
Thank you for joining us on Your Catholic Drive Time, where it is our pleasure to keep you informed and inspired.
Join us Monday through Friday at the same time, right here on your favorite Catholic radio station.
Don't forget to connect with us. Just go to facebook.com/Catholic Drive Time.
Again, that's facebook.com/Catholic Drive Time.
Be sure to share more than just us today. Share Jesus with everyone you meet.
Bye now, and God love you.